All right, the Ruger LCP. First thing we'll do, of course, make sure that it's unloaded and safe. No brass, empty magazine. Hammer down, empty mag in the gun. All right, so now we can talk about it. So the Ruger LCP. I've carried this gun for many, many years. I have to say maybe 7 years at this point. I'm not sure exactly when I bought it, but it's been something that I never really leave the house without. I have rotated other firearms in the mix, but really I just wanted to make this video to do kind of a long-term review and maybe some modifications that have been made to it to better fit my lifestyle. The Ruger LCP has been out for many years. Originally, the first design was from Keltec, and Keltec came out with a firearm, minus the laser and the extended magazine, but basically the same exact firearm. And Ruger's a great company. I'd say they're probably one of my favorite firearms manufacturers. Just from their lineup definitely appeals to me. But they are known to take good designs from other companies and improve upon them and kind of put their spin on it and release it to the market. And that's exactly what this is. So the Keltec company came out with the P3AT, and this is also a 380 ACP chambered firearm. And Ruger put their spin on it. I don't know. Keltec, they're hit or miss. I've heard good and bad about them, and I'm not going to really comment on them at this point. But Ruger was able to meet with the demand, and I think that's really where they shine. They're able to churn these firearms out at a great price. This was, I think, $230 for the stainless steel version. It was like $200 for the blued version, the carbon steel version, back when I picked this up. And that's just a killer deal. I'm sure they're still very affordably priced. So Ruger put their spin on it, and it's just been great. I mean, honestly, if you've been carrying firearms for a while, you know that there's a few certain things on a carry gun that you're looking for. You want it to be thin, right? Which this definitely checks. Small, height and width. And a lot of people get into the nitty-gritty, the sights, trigger, whatnot. But for me, what I've found is something that I'm going to carry, something that I'm going to have on me every day is, and I'm at least proficient with it, and it's in a fairly substantial caliber that's reliable, relatively accurate for what you need. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. There's, of course, the mindset of the larger pistol, more ammo capacity. For me, it just doesn't fit into my lifestyle. I do carry a larger firearm sometimes, and I'll bring some of those in for a size comparison and kind of discuss the differences. But to really nail down this LCP, I actually even prefer the LCP1 over the LCP2. I don't own an LCP2, but I've handled them and I've fired them. And yes, the trigger is nicer. The thicker grip is a little nicer in hand. But if you can get used to this slim grip, it's slimmer is better in your waistband, and there's no doubt about that. So, and that'll be a good segue right into the modifications. So there's 3 modifications you can see here. The one that probably really sticks out is this pocket clip. So this, or some form of clip, right? This is a Techniclip, and that's a company that makes clips for all sorts of firearms. And I pretty much, I started off carrying it in a pocket holster. That worked. The thing I didn't like was in the pocket. If it was in my front pocket, it would print pretty bad. And if I put it in my rear pocket, I felt like I wasn't in very good control of it. Almost like someone, if they were going for my wallet and they end up grabbing my firearm, it'd be even worse than my wallet. So I started looking into holsters. And the thing is, what you have to realize is with carrying any firearm, a holster is just going to make it even thicker because they have to have an air gap between the walls, the thickness of the material. A lot of times there's geometry in there, maybe to make it more rigid or to work with the lines of the gun. And then if you want to have a lighter laser, forget about it. They're just not modular. And the great thing about this firearm is is that it's not a double action in the function of it. So it does, I guess you could say it has a double action trigger, but I want to demonstrate how I carry this. So of course, empty chamber, empty, no magazine, and the magazine in this case is empty, although it would be loaded if I was carrying it. And so the way I carry it is I'll make sure it's empty. I'll drop the hammer. And so now, because this is kind of a single action, the trigger is just dead. It's not pulling on the hammer. The hammer is all the way forward. And it's extremely safe in this condition. So then I would take a fully loaded magazine and insert it into the pistol. So now at this point, I have a dead trigger. There is no way in my waistband that this is going to make the firearm go off. And I can basically drop the firearm in, and this is all you'll see in my waistband. Is it the fastest to retrieve? Definitely not. I've gotten pretty good at it. I just have carried it so long that I'm just so used to taking it in and out that it's easy for me. And then, of course, once you draw the firearm, you will need to chamber around. For me, the slide's pretty heavy on this, but I have no issues with that whatsoever. I find this very easy to work with, so no big concern for me. So this Techniclip has been great. I really like this. It's probably, out of all these editions, that's the best one. No doubt about that. It's so thin, I don't even know it's there. The next modification upgrade that I did was this Arma laser. Just a red laser sight. I believe it also comes in green. And so right now I have it off, so I'll press and hold to turn it on. And the great thing about this is these two little contacts, they're just waiting for your finger to touch. And so as soon as you grab, let's see if I can show it on camera. As soon as you grab, it's on. So if you have a grip on the pistol, the laser's on. I love that. I don't want to press a button with my pointer finger. I don't want to, actuate anything else. And it's pretty slim, pretty fitting to the lines of the firearm. And it uses some crazy little CR4 battery, but really liking it so far. Now, the only downside is, in my hands, they're a large glove size hand. So I was barely able to get 1.5 I was barely able to get 2 fingers on. I mean, not even really as it was. And now I definitely can't with the slight bit of extra thickness here. So Ruger factory makes these 7-round magazines, so the 6-round with the +1. And for me, I mean, it's a perfect 2-finger grip. Yeah, my pinky dangles. I'm used to that. It's no big deal. So perfect 2-finger grip. It actually worked. I actually prefer it in the waistband because it gives me a little bit extra to grab onto and to make sure it doesn't. What you don't want is for it to do this in your waistband, because then it's really slow to get it out. But if my belt kind of wraps around and sticks and kind of hangs on the little butt there of the pistol. So. Anyways, we'll move on to some comparable other firearms. So like I said, larger firearms, yes, they're better. I'll bring in what everyone is probably very familiar with. This is a Glock 19 Gen 3. This was the first handgun I think I ever bought. That was back in 2012, so it's been almost 11 years with this firearm. And it's, back then this was the pistol to get, right? Everybody praised, let's move this out of the way. Everybody praised the Glock 19. I mean, this was the quintessential carry piece. It could do everything. You could, every channel on YouTube, every reviewer on the internet, Glock 19 was the standard. I will check this firearm. I will let you know it is loaded. I do use this firearm, so it is loaded. I'll put the magazine to the side and show that the chamber is empty. Reason chamber's empty is you'll notice the clip, right? So you'll see a commonality between any firearms that I carry. Honestly, guys, I'm done with holsters completely. If the world changes and I need to carry a holster, for other reasons, then sure. But with a normal lifestyle, this is how I prefer to carry them, and I honestly don't care what anybody says. It's the easiest way to carry a firearm. You can have a light, no light. You don't have to worry about changing holsters, clipping in and out of your belt. So with this, the same thing. You'll see these are made by a couple companies. Clip Draw comes to mind. I think Techniclip also makes one. It basically secures to the back, and it's not the perfect design, but essentially the belt will kind of sit right there, and so you have the whole grip to be able to grab onto and draw the pistol. So this is a Glock 19. You can't go wrong. There's no doubt about that. But I will say, I carried this for many years. I had a Galco holster. I had a bunch of different holsters. I had holsters that would carry the spare magazine. I had a spare magazine in my pocket, the whole nine. And it's just, honestly, for this point in my life, it's just too much. I mean, if we compare some sizes here, if you look at the thickness, I mean, you can't even compare that. I don't have the exact measurements with me, but the thickness, the size, it's just itty bitty compared to this behemoth, which at this point, these Glock 19s, they're really not pushed as hard anymore because of the 43, the 43X, the Glock 48, and those are great offerings, and I'm sure they would serve you well. So other modifications, the clip. Otherwise, these Glocks, there's no reason to modify them, right? Add a flashlight if you want. Most people don't do the clip, but this is a Streamlight TLR8G, and I typically carry it locked out. You guys are going to see some, we'll discuss all of this, but I keep it locked out, and then you won't be able to see the laser, most likely. Maybe if I move back. But this is the green laser version. And with this carry method, I don't have to worry about holsters. It just slips right in and works fine for me. So I think it's probably a good time to discuss this, the safety concern. So you should never use these clip draws with a round in the chamber. I don't think anyone would argue that, right? So same thing with this. The slide would be forward. The striker would be fully forward. The trigger, there's nothing the trigger can do. It can't fire anything. There's nothing that can happen, and we know the chamber's empty as it is. Then I would insert the magazine and carry it this way. So yes, it would take a split second to draw and run the slide, but I'm willing to take that because it's so much easier to carry, and I'm not going to make the argument that it's very unlikely to need it, but I would rather have it on me. I mean, we've all heard it. I'd rather have it on me and not need it than need it and not have it. And the fact is, I'm not going to carry something this large with the holster anymore in my life. I have to take it on and off pretty frequently, the firearm. And for where I work, I'm not going to carry into my work site. I work at a relatively professional position, and it's just not going to work. So I want something I can easily throw in my glove box while I'm at work and then easily put back on, not have to undo clips or belt loops or pull my belt out of my out of my pants or any of that stuff. I'm not messing with any of that. So this is how I carry it. But I'm interested to hear opinions. I don't know if there's a ton of videos on these out there. Probably because most people are worried about getting flack for it. Where I will, concede is that it's definitely not the fastest. A dedicated holster that you can get they'll call it a fighting grip and draw the firearm all in one motion and you're ready to rock. Yeah, that's kick-ass, right? That's great. Just like I said, I'm not going to carry it. So, you know, some a comparable option here between the Glock and the Ruger LCP. I'll also bring in another Ruger. Ruger's just such a great company. I love their stuff. This right here is a Ruger SP101 and 357. You can see that it is not loaded at the moment. Most of my guns are loaded off camera, and they're stored safely for when they're needed. But you can see, let's see if I can show the size here somehow. You know, the SP101 is not a large revolver by any means. It's a 5-shot 38 special 357, and it's this is a 3-inch model, so it's a little bit longer. But you can see, I mean, this not only is this so much smaller in every way, it is just so much smaller, but it's quite a bit lighter. I believe this is about 27 ounces unloaded. These SP101s, I believe, are about 9 ounces, and they're about 13 ounces loaded up with your 6 rounds. So it's going to be a little bit heavier because I have some modifications on here. But so as you know, as a comparable size, this is you know, a full stainless steel revolver. So I get it; it's going to be quite a bit heavier. But yeah, I guess the last point I want to make is you'll hear a lot of people giving advice to first-time concealed carry permit holders, and they'll say to buy your Glock 19. They'll make the argument, which I agree, that you can carry it, you can use it for home defense, it has a rail, you can attach a light, it takes your standard Glock magazines, which are everywhere, uses 9mm. Okay, so totally concede to that. Where my issue is if you have a first-time buyer of a firearm, and they come in and they want to find a carry pistol, and you recommend this, even a 26, and I would say even a 43X, 43 and Glock 43 and all the way down to an LCP, I would say you probably have a better shot of avoiding what I'm about to say. But what I've seen is people, they'll get their Glock 19, especially back in 5 to 10 years ago when I bought this. They would get their Glock 19, they'd show it off to their buddies. A lot of times there's a huge temptation to just mod the thing out, put on the RMR, spend a bunch of money on it, custom trigger, all these things that are just really silly to do for a carry item, a carry piece. But the point I'm getting at is they'd carry it, they'd get the sweet holster, they'd carry it. It was like an accessory for a man, a man's accessory. And then it would just go in the drawer. And they would never carry it again. They never look at carrying a firearm again because they had such a bad experience. They won't admit it, I think, in most cases. But carrying such a bulky gun with a full holster, on a summer day, I mean, it's just, it is not comfortable. I don't care what anyone, I did it for years, and I thought it was worth the effort, and so that worked. But as you get away from finding it worth the squeeze, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, you really start to get an eye for these. With 7 rounds of 380, I feel that I can handle 99.9% of the situations that I'm going to find myself in. I totally see the argument. If there's a mass shooter situation, yeah, I would much prefer to have the Glock 19. But just protecting myself, my family, my friends, this is going to do it. I know it will. I've fired it quite a bit. I use reliable ammunition. I don't use the hollow points. That's a whole nother video. But for this firearm specifically, I use the hardball ammo. And yeah, it's just, if there's any message I want to get across in this rambling rant of a video, it's that go smaller than you think. I think it's like a lot of things. You know, some things in life you should go bigger than you think you need, and in this case, go smaller than you think, because what you want, if you're gonna buy a smaller firearm, like a Glock 43 would be a perfect example. If you buy a Glock 43, you need to carry it in a way, because why would you buy a Glock 43 and then relinquish it to home defense when you could have a Glock 17? I mean, it's just, there's no comparison between a Glock 17 and a Glock 43. So don't buy a mid-size gun and then just leave it in the drawer for home defense and think that you've now solved, you didn't waste a bunch of money on a mid-size. Buy something small to carry. That's my takeaway from this video. And this is a great option. I have no dog in the fight, but I just think Ruger makes high quality stuff at a great price. This is a well-supported, there's all sorts of accessories you can get for these, although I would limit it to just what you need. Save the bigger stuff for home defense. Yeah, Glock 17 all day. I mean, that's great with a, full-size weapons light. Great option. But I'm speaking specifically to carry, and this is the one to go to. So, all right, guys. It's the end of my rant. If you like the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be making multiple videos, many videos to come out on a bunch of stuff, gear stuff, flashlights. I've got some other channels that I'll link to in the description, more focused on other areas. Leave me some comments. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know if you think that this setup is just not the way to go. I want to hear your opinion, and we can discuss it down in the comments. So again, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it.